on. But what about this issue of sovereignty? People don't even understand this whole thing about the birth certificate. As we've been mentioning, we did a whole teaching on sovereignty and African American blacks. And it's not just for African American blacks, but whites also have to comprehend and understand how the 14th Amendment that brought about the national birth certificate was, quote, to enroll the children of the newly freed black slaves as chattel property. You wonder why the New World Order views most of the people, I think George Bush was even quoted, senior, as saying that the useless eaters and stuff like that, useless eaters and cattle and cucked, you understand? It created an unrevealed trust instrument. In other words, when you study it in the sense of the law, it's unrevealed. It's there, but they don't reveal this to you. But if you study it, you'll find it. There's a trust instrument, and it's connected with the national birth certificate in the 14th Amendment. This is one reason why they're trying to push for the national ID card. You know what I'm saying? This is all what's leading to the so-called one of the forms of the mark of the beast right here. You understand? This made the holder of such a legal fiction an artificial person. And there are artificial people and there are natural people. And that's the difference between the natural, unalienable sovereign rights and so-called authorized and alienable civil rights, which can be changed. You understand? Which can be transferred, which can be amended, which can be revoked. One thing people confuse, and they shouldn't confuse, but often they do confuse this, is that civil rights should never be confused with civil liberties. But you see, it's always the first part of the thing they get civil. They hear civil and they think it's the same thing. They don't recognize that one is rights, you see what I'm saying? And one is liberties. Civil rights are defined as enforceable claims. Enforceable claims which are structured in legislature. So you should really focus more attention, black people that is, if they want to change the African and so-called American, if they want to change the situation, they should focus more attention on who are their legislators in their local areas. You understand? And learn what the law is. And then when you send them to Washington, you understand, they should really legislate on your behalf right there. You understand? Because if you're under the civil rights illusion, the only way that illusion can even have any semblance of permanence is based on the enforceability of the claims based on the structure of the legislature. Now, civil liberties is a total different thing. Civil liberties are natural rights that pertain originally to each and every human being and are inherent in their nature and connects with the will of God for humanity, and connects with, you could say, Genesis chapter 1 right there, where man was made in his image and after his likeness. When we say he, some people say, oh, why you say he and not she? If you would understand language, and see, English language doesn't have this, Anglo-Saxon language doesn't have this, but the more ancient language, the Hebrew, the Aramaic, the Royal Amharic, the Ge'ez, the Ethiopic, also has this, that when we say male, we're saying that he is male as opposed to female, as being separate from his creation. It is through the female or the wisdom, you understand, the wisdom, or as Jesus Christ said, wisdom is justified of her children. And you look in the book of Proverbs, Solomon, or greater than Solomon is here, Yehoshua HaMashiach. Now when you look in the book of Solomon, it speaks about wisdom being there, you understand, as a co-partner, you could say, or as a assistant to the Almighty in the creation. You find that in the book of wisdom right there. So you find the divine feminine is there in scripture in the proper context, in the proper relation, in what we call the epignosis. You know what I'm saying? In the correct and the precise knowledge and understanding right there. Now, why we're making that clear is because often when we say he, God, some people, you know, they get caught up on the sexist issue, and that's what really derailed what black people were attempting to do, you understand, in the 60s, because black women then wanted to also have women's rights, and she began to identify with the goddess or the white woman. You see what I'm saying? She began to identify with the Statue of Liberty and all these statues that you see all around the place and everything. The white woman statues with toga on and everything like that, holding the torch or something like that. She began to identify with that and felt that, well, she too is a woman, so I need my own rights. But ask yourself this, black woman. When have you been under black man's rulership? In other words, when have black men ruled their own society? I mean, when have you experienced this? Black men ruling their society as white men basically rule this society. I mean, it's very clear. You see, we cannot get to that point of the true freedom and liberty of the sons of and daughters of God, you understand, of the Bani Elohim, unless we recognize where we're at. You see, and recognize the situation as it is, not to fantasize, well, as we want to make believe, but we have to recognize where we're at. So that was a trick right there. In other words, black woman buying into this woman's rights thing as though she was under the rulership of black men. She, as well as the black men, did not properly understand their situation. Some did. You understand? But they were suppressed, just like we're suppressed and others are suppressed. They were silenced as they want to silence us, and they've silenced others. You understand? Because if ones were to address that issue, there would be real change that you would know, not just believe it, because you already believe in Obama. You already believe in Obama. You understand? Now you want to know what he's going to do, and you want to know whether this belief, this trust, this faith that you put in him, you understand, is truly genuine. Was truly worth it. This is what we want to know as well. You understand? So this talk about enmity to Obama, we recognize that Obama can call on his mama. In other words, the fact that his mama, you understand, was of those that, what does the Constitution says here in Justice Taney's decision in the Dred Scott case, that blacks, whether free or slave, could never be citizens of the Union within the meaning of the Constitution. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5, it states that no person except a natural-born citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of the President. This is why when you look at why the presidents of the United States all seem to have had some sort of relation to, you could say, the so-called black nobility. Notice that they use black there positively for them. The black nobility, they don't have a problem with using black there. You understand? The black nobility of Europe. You understand? The reason why is that when the U.S. government, you understand, was authorized to protect the property of another wherever that property resided in the United States territory, that after 1857, the Dred Scott decision, the next step through the Emancipation Proclamation was to allow the black property to travel throughout the United States, widening the jurisdiction of the federal corporation, the federal government of the United States Corporation. So in other words, the whole black slavery issue, it actually helped and aided the federal government. This is why you'll find that the federal government politics always somehow uses the black people and what they did for black people. Even the Republicans, they were talking about we're the party of Lincoln and so forth and so on. You have to understand what that really means to them. Not what it means to you, but what does it mean to them. You understand? That's what you call the art of warfare, is knowing what it means to the other guy. You already know what it means to you. You should know that. Now you need to know what it means to the other guy. You understand, to the guy that's opposing you or fighting against you. This process would simultaneously advance blacks in the areas where white sovereigns had full jurisdiction, because the white people in the 13 states and other places, they were sovereign citizens. They received, the charter from England, so forth and so on. That grew into their own local, state, national government, their nation states, in other words. That's what nation states really comes out of. You understand? Consequently, it forced the whites to fight for civil privileges. The whites now were tricked. White people, a lot of y'all were tricked now to fight for civil privileges, making y'all annul your sovereign status. They annulled their sovereign status, and they also became federal property too. And that was ingenious. That was clever. And this is why we stated, and we said that Lucifer, or so-called Lucifer, really Satan, is a politician. because they use a political strategy, you understand, to even rob white sovereigns of their rights. And that's one of the reasons why you'll find that the so-called militias, you understand, are fighting for what they're fighting for. There's a real issue. So you find black people, they are holding to the federal government for all their rights. They want big government, because as the government is expanded, their jurisdiction, you know, the complementary jurisdiction in the government also expands. And why you'll find a lot of the white people talk about smaller government, because they want smaller government, because if they shrink that, they can increase now their national states and nation states' rights, and once again, their own sovereignty.